Moon Man. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. We are US Fan TV. I am Chris. Joining me is TJ. Hat Guy has COVID, so or at least that's what we're calling it. So he is not with us tonight, but we'll be breaking down the US Honduras game that occurred just ended about 30 minutes ago. The US cruising to a 3-0 victory. A warming sight after the way the rest of the window went, but
couldn't you have said they skated to a 3-0 win?
I could have. I did not use intention. I did not say call it warming as a that was just an accident that I did. It wasn't some sort of statement on the temperature. I think we're both pretty happy that we aren't at the game. I'm surprised. I was kind of surprised you didn't bring up going. After all, TJ's brothers both live in Minneapolis. TJ's lived in Minneapolis, or at least in the Twin Cities for a while.
That was. I mean, it's been. God, I left.
It's been a while.
It's been 15 years, but I spent 10 years there. My younger brother, when I logged on for work this morning, we work for the same company. He sent me a message and asked. He goes, I'm kind of surprised you guys aren't going. And I asked if he was, and they said the original sale was $150, so they weren't interested in that. But they were finding $45 to $60 resale, and they were interested. But my niece had soccer tonight, so they didn't go. But they did look at it for a little bit.
I was supposed to be in Salt Lake City this past week, but the trip got canceled. And when that happened, I thought about, well, somebody was offering, like from the AO section, was offering 4 tickets together, and we had discussed it. The 3 of us had discussed it, but nobody bid on it.
But I mean, the difference between this and the Mexico game. Number one, it's not Mexico. Number two, it's a Wednesday. It's not where Mexico was a Friday night, which. And frankly, I wouldn't have been going anyway because I get to have knee surgery in 2 weeks. So, let's all that together. So, all right. So 3-0.
3-0. Yes, Alex. Hey, what are you doing back here? Yes, US Fan TV is back. I was too pissed off after the Canada game to talk. Events of life and things conspired against the El Salvador match, but the Canada game, I was pissed off and didn't want to talk about it. And Pat was like, "Yeah, I don't really want to talk either." And so TJ was the only one pushing us. Pat and I vetoed it. So sorry. Yeah, this is our first one of this window. It's nice to see some positives at least in this game. Now, granted, it's playing the last place team. They were already disqualified.
Eliminated, not disqualified.
You're right. Yeah, eliminated, I should say. They weren't going to make it anyway, so they didn't have anything to play for at this point. But of all Honduran teams of, I don't know, the last 20 or 30 years, this is probably the worst. They just didn't have anything going. Figueroa, what did they say? He's 38.
Got to remember the same Honduras eliminated the under 23s from the Olympics last year. So I mean, the expectation for Honduras to be this bad was kind of surprising. It was always like the US and Mexico, and then the next tier was usually, and then Costa Rica usually tucked in right behind. And then the next tier was forever. It was El Salvador and or it was Panama and Honduras. And then El Salvador and Canada were behind them. And but yet here we are.
So much has been flipped on its head,
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I mean, it was nice to see a result here. It was nice to see an early goal, a set piece goal, what seemed to be actual drive to score, because we didn't really see that in the first 2 games of this window. And I mean, my take is Berhalter got outcoached the first 2 games, so it was nice to see. I don't know, see more than that in this game. Now, look, you can knock all of it by saying, yeah, it's Honduras. They were already out of it. It doesn't matter for them anyway. But we needed this. You look at the final 3 games of this qualifying cycle. We have the hardest 3 left, not just because 2 of them are on the road, but it's also essentially 2 of the 3 hardest games of the entire cycle are coming up in a month, and we got to set ourselves up just in case things don't go there. It don't work out there. So we needed this win. Based on how Canada's playing, I suppose this was a nearly a best case scenario, but I don't know. We had chances against Canada. We didn't take them. We didn't play well, and
let me step back.
So tonight was a plus.
Let me step back.
But yeah, by all means, go ahead.
When you Pat and I were talking prior to the cycle, I said I thought 6 was realistic. I honestly, and I said in our text chat, Canada was the throwaway game. You needed your 2 at home. End of story. You're playing 2 of the lesser teams. You needed those results. For as bad as Berhalter coached in the Canada game, and you can't gloss that over. He didn't set that team up right. He didn't have that team ready to make adjustments with the way when Canada went up early, they sat back. The first game he didn't get out coached. The first game it's a long cycle. They got up 1-0, and I think they sat on it about 65 minutes in when they put on Jordan Morris and Zardes early. That was sitting on the game already. They were.
No, I understand. I don't disagree there. I just and I guess look, you're winning. They weren't really showing a lot of promise to score themselves, so there wasn't a whole lot of fear, I guess, that they were going to get one back. That said, the U.S. is right up there with Arsenal in terms of, hey, we're winning, everything's under control. We're going to give up a goal anytime now. So there was a fear there, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand your point. I'm sure there's some validity to it. That said, I felt like we didn't know how to deal with their low block,
and that's
or just their attempt to just stack as many players behind the ball or in the box as possible.
If you're talking about El Salvador, I think after they're up 1-0, they stopped trying to break it down completely. In the second game against Canada, yes, they looked lost trying to break down the low block.
Yeah.
Alex, I'll tell you straight out, I'm cheering for Mexico, but then again, I have money on Mexico tonight, so there's that.
I am not. I'm probably hoping for a draw. I mean, we've had this discussion. Like the 3 of us had this discussion over text earlier today, because I was like, realistically, we need Mexico to win. I can't root for Mexico. I just never can. Like, they're one of those teams that I don't care the circumstances. I just can't do it. They're one of 3 or 4 teams that I don't care if it benefits my team. I still don't want to see them win. But yes, a victory there probably is the best thing. I'm kind of just hoping for a draw, I guess. So neither team really advances.
Yeah, I guess I could live with that. And watching the game, Alex, seeing you're a stat guy, can you check, is this one of them that Mexico's playing quote unquote behind closed doors? Is that tonight? Because the crowd it's almost non-existent, or is this a COVID?
What's up, Jameson? I should have said something already.
Yeah. So I guess you could say, does this cool off? Between the weather in St. Paul and everything, did it cool off the pressure on Greg Berhalter a little bit tonight? And other than US soccer Twitter, is there really any pressure on him?
Probably not. I mean, look, my statement even after the Mexico game was, yeah, we looked like shit. I think that Hugo Perez had El Salvador better prepared for us than we were for them in the opening game. But even on back-to-back underwhelming games, we were still set up to qualify. Like I've said since we won the Mexico game, we're pretty much in. Like I know mathematically we were still far from it, but it's like that game alone set us ahead of them, so they have to catch up. So the best they can do is then beat us just to like reach our points effectively, as long as we just kind of hold serve. And then you knew that some of the lower teams were going to start falling off. I mean, you knew Honduras was going to fade pretty. Like, the way things had looked, it was not going to be good for them. I was kind of surprised even Jamaica lasted as long as they did, because the opening, like the first two windows, didn't look great for them. Costa Rica, I don't know what to think of them. Like,
They're still playing. They're still playing Calvo. That game. We'll get to that later. I'm not sure.
They're Costa Rica. Like, it's sort of this way every cycle, where it's like, oh yeah, no, we've got them. Like, it's done. And then we go there and we lose like 3-0 or something. It's like the stupidest thing. You know that it's it should be fine now, and it never is. So I mean, when I look at the 3 games next month, we got Mexico away, Panama at home, and the Costa Rica away. Part of me says Mexico's right for the taking right now. Part of me says Costa Rica's right for the taking right now. And part of me says the U.S. is right for the taking right now. So I don't know what to say there,
And let's go through what went on this last week, and then we can touch on that at the end, though. So no Pulisic tonight.
Well, at least to start, but yeah.
At least to start, yeah. Obviously, Tyler Adams was out with a knock, but you got Weah back. You got Zimmerman back tonight. You saw De La Torre in for Musa, and then who came out for Aronson? That was Aronson was out too tonight. Morris came out for Aronson. Yeah, that's right. And then Acosta, of course. Cannon on for Sergino Dest. I mean, Berhalter got it right tonight.
Some of it, yeah. Some of it is the opponent, but like Acosta looked like every bit of the promise that we hoped he'd have a few years ago. Morris, I don't know. Like, whatever, he looked good enough, I guess. To me, he's a dude who runs fast, and coming off 2 ACL tears, will he ever be a guy who truly just runs fast? I don't know. I don't know if he has the rest of it, but it works at least in situations like this.
I envision,
I don't know, having Aronson and Pulisic to come off the bench isn't a terrible thing, especially in a game you're already winning.
Well,
like, you can then turn to those guys later on. Come on, there's nobody in CONCACAF who doesn't think like, shit, when those guys are coming in.
Well,
because I think both of them have now reached a level where.
Wasn't it was it the road game in El Salvador, or was it Honduras? In the road game in Honduras, when they brought Aronson on at halftime, and they turned that game on its head. I mean, let's face it. Like you said, when you're sitting there and you're down or even level, and then you've got to now deal with Aronson and Pulisic coming off the bench. That's an ideal.
Fast and can dribble a lot and will potentially really hurt you.
If you're playing
as it turned out.
I was going to say, if you're playing a low block like that, now you've got to deal with their speed with heavy legs. Good luck. Let me know how that's going to play out. No, that said, does that mean I think Pulisic should not start anymore? No, absolutely not.
No.
If Pulisic's in form, he's obviously playing every minute. Right now, his form is as low as it's been in years. So I didn't think this was a bad idea. And it showed. Him against tired legs, he was obviously much better tonight. Now, again, like you said, the opponent matters here.
Walker Zimmerman. On the one hand, I don't like that we haven't. I think that we still haven't truly found a starting central defensive pair. That said, we keep getting good games out of guys who we're testing out, and this was a big game for him. Like, he looked good, and I know some of it is the opponent again, but like,
I think tonight you found it. I think tonight's what you're going to have.
You can't fault them. And
I think tonight's going to be your pairing going forward. It's going to be Robinson and Zimmerman for at least the time being, with Richards as your next guy up, I guess. And And again, does that mean Acosta, as good as he was and as good as he was on set pieces tonight, does that mean he's not playing? He's playing over Tyler Adams? Nope,
No.
absolutely not. But what it shows is what you and I and Pat have maintained, I think, really since the beginning. Because it's 3 games in 7 days, your depth is going to be tested. It's going to be tested. If you're trying to trot out the same 11 every time, it's not going to work. And that's why I still think even the lineup choices, I think Weah not being able to play in Canada turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I mean, he looked incredibly fresh tonight, where he probably wouldn't have been if he plays 90 minutes in Hamilton. It to me, some of those things worked out well that way. It's kind of like when some of these injuries have played out that way. So it kept them a little fresher, allowed a little bit of rotation. But like I said, I think honestly, as much as U.S. men's national team Twitter and the media have complained about Canada, there's 2 things. 1, this Canadian team is good. Like it or not, they are. 2, that was the throwaway game of the 3. I will. That's why it was Zardes. I think they played. Their intent was to try and draw Canada out and force them to play. And when they went down a goal early, they had to chase it, and that plays right into Canada's strengths. And at that point, that's where not having Weah hurt, having Pulisic being out of form hurt. Second goal, I don't care about. Second goal, you're chasing the game. You're desperate. You're throwing numbers forward. But that goal early, it was brutal. It was awful, and I think it changed the strategy completely. And they didn't have a good plan B in place for that one.
Well, and I mean, McKennie is, I would say, more than head and shoulders above the quality of anyone Honduras can put out. So it was nice to see a goal, one from him, because I think, especially in the circumstances where like Pulisic isn't starting, Reyna's not in there, De La Torre's getting his chance, but he's not. There's the hype and there's the questions and there's like whatever around him. Moose is not playing. McKennie becomes so important to that team. Not to say he isn't always, because I think he is sort of the heart and soul of so much of this U.S. team. But like under the circumstances where kind of all the other stars really aren't there,
Canada just scored, so it's 1-0 against El Salvador. So anyway, Anyway, my point is just I think the goal coming from him in particular was even more important to the team. The timing of it was good because it did sort of set the tone then for the game. It's even harder for a team that they had already had 14 goals against them. No, it was 22 I think against them total, but like they already had a negative 14 goal differential going into the game. So to think that they had to kind of overcome that, and it's cold. They what was it, a 12-hour, 14-hour flight or something on Monday? They never had a chance to practice outside. A 10-hour flight.
Against them. Yeah.
10-hour flight, 80-degree different from where they came to where they went. I believe they had the opportunity to practice outside. They chose not to.
Yeah, well.
And
I can understand that.
And I do understand that. Oh, by the way, Canada's goal, when you get a chance, watch it, is one of the weirdest goals I've ever seen. Off the post, off a defender, off the Canadian guy on the ground, and into the goal. I kid you not. This all just happened. But
TV's around the corner. I can't see it from here.
Yeah. So, but that said, getting McKennie into form, back, and I want to say it was Alexi talked about that a little bit during the game, and it was that what happened with the first round of qualifiers and then kind of getting sapped by Juve for a little bit might have been a wake-up call for him, and he's been good since he's been back, since they let him back in the fold. He made poor mistakes in the first window, but he's the best player in the cycle. Yes, better than anything Honduras can put out. Absolutely. Now the question is, does playing De La Torre next to him instead of Musa, does that open up some more space for him.
I think that probably has more to do with the opponent than anything. But
Sure.
maybe.
Does having Weah on the other side force him to stay that little bit wider? Did Canada, now we're getting into technique. Did Canada narrowing that field just that little bit? I can tell you that little bit of space matters when you're talking is tight marking. If you can get that one extra step over when you don't have Weah and you don't have, it makes that more compact. And that said, how would somebody like Gio Reyna have, with his ability in tight spaces, been in that Canada game?
Yeah.
I think that would have been that was missed.
He definitely would have been he definitely would have come in handy there.
And let's face it, the Canada game, yeah, there's a lot of criticism of Pulisic. I thought Musso was equally as non-existent. I mean, but seeing Weah back. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say I thought there wasn't a lot of the game in which anyone really covered themselves in glory, so to speak. While we had chances, even our shots weren't necessarily on the front foot. They were, kind of like offhanded stuff or trying to attempt a bicycle or something. And now, granted,
was it McKinney that destroyed the crossbar on a header? Was that him or was it Zar?
Yeah, that might have been.
It was late in the first half. He destroyed the crossbar on a header, and again, that would have changed. Or was that the huge save? No, it was the huge save off to the crossbar or something like that.
Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, you're right. If that goes in, the game's completely different. The second goal is just
it doesn't matter.
The first one's kind of luck and just some bad play out of the back. The second one is you're chasing a game. Yeah. You left it open. Like that's just kind of poaching, and
but
they finished it off well.
But you nailed it earlier. The final third, they did nothing. I don't care how much possession you have as a goalkeeper, somebody who played goalkeeper. If they're going to possess the ball out there and not do anything dangerous, you don't care.
Yeah.
And Canada being up 1-0 really didn't care. Like I said, they made the saves they needed to make, even if the guy was wearing sweatpants. But the first goal was, as much as I've been on the Matt Turner bandwagon, that first goal to me is a lot on Matt Turner. You don't make that goal kick without your defense ready. It wasn't. They were slow to react. Obviously, the wind catching it happens. I mean, so what? But not having your defense ready and just the goal was just blistered. I mean, let's face it for that. But like for a throw game, I'm fine with it. And I've been, of course, then again, I've also been on the Jassy Zardes bandwagon, and after that, nope. Nope.
He was not good.
He was not good. I do not see him unless he's got compromising of photos of Berhalter. I don't see him going to Qatar. But the one I do see in that role coming up is Jordan Morris. That 65th minute, somebody who needs to see a game out. If Pulisic's back in form, obviously it's going to be Pulisic, Pepe, and Weah up top. Jordan Morris gets into that 65th minute, seeing a game out. He becomes important there because he does have speed. He's built like a brick shithouse. You're not going to get through him easily. He's big enough. He can come back and defend set pieces when needed. He does a lot of the same things Zardes does, but you got to remember, he's still in the United States, other than he keeps blowing his ACL by choice. I mean, he had chances to go to Germany and chose not to. I get it. He was going to miss his dog, but he is that caliber of player. So I see Anthony Hubert said John Brooks needs to be on the roster moving forward.
I'm totally on board with that.
I am too. I especially if you're chasing game. Usually you don't replace the center back, but if you need to chase the game and you need somebody who can get the ball and do some dangerous stuff with it, he's excellent for that.
He had some bad games at the start of this cycle, but
and by bad you mean brutal, awful, hold a skunk in front of him.
I'm just saying, like, yes, I'm not trying to defend him in any way there. All I'm saying is he's been playing well again in Germany, and ultimately there's still nobody else amongst our say, core of defenders who can make a pass or a long ball out of the back the way he can. And it's part of why my thought was maybe Bradley would, as his career progressed or got closer to the end, sort of slot back into some sort of central defensive role and become essentially what Brooks is. He would just be a guy who tries to use positioning and timing to hold off their defenders because he can't outrun them, and then he's just there to be a deep lying playmaker, a very, very deep lying playmaker.
I don't think Bradley. I agreed with your thought on Bradley. I don't think he defends well enough, but I believe he's been doing. I believe he's been doing that for Toronto, though. Been playing more center.
Like
he's a six. He's almost a center back.
I think he could have 5 or 6 years ago. I think the problem is he's so slow these days that it doesn't matter. You can be as well positioned as you want. If you're 5 steps too slow, it's not going to matter.
James asked about
Greg took pictures with fans during the game. I didn't see that.
It was the 82nd minute. I'd like to see what was going on during it. Was it during the run of play, or was it after that when they're looking at VAR after the offside goal? Was it in that time or when somebody was injured? If he's doing it while somebody's down with an injury, I really don't care either way, to be honest. It's a horrible night. You're up 3-0. Is it disrespectful? Sure, probably. Do I care? Nope. And especially if they're up 3-0 on Mexico and he does it in Mexico City, hey, I'm 100% in favor of it.
Yeah.
So I guess the reality is no, I don't care. There's a lot of things I care about. That's not one of them. I guess for me, like I said, with Greg, and again, going back to even the beginning of this cycle, or of the Ocho, as we're calling it, I've been on the Berhalter bandwagon. I don't think he should be in any job. His job should be in any jeopardy. Had they lost to Honduras, yeah, I would have understood the Barbarians being at the gate. That said, he's lost 2 games in this so far. They're doing fine. He's beaten Mexico 3 times.
I think I said, when people were calling for him, after the Canada game, I'm like, look, we're still going to qualify. He's not losing his job. That said, no, I don't have complete faith in him. I don't think that long term he's the guy who should be there. But
the reality,
he's successful enough that what can you do? You're not going to change it.
The reality,
you'd be at a deeper risk by changing it.
The reality of the situation is, how many managers can do more than one cycle on a national team?
Yeah.
And continue to be good? There aren't many. They usually are good for one cycle and they're done. And that's what I see for Greg. After this cycle, win, lose, draw. And I'm guessing U.S. Soccer will keep him, but reality is I see him for this cycle.
Yeah.
And then after that, if Jesse Marsh is still available, do you look at him? Absolutely. But and also really, that's also the other question: who's available at that point?
Yeah.
Everybody knocks Greg. Greg was the first manager, American-born or American manager in Europe when he coached in Norway. He took Columbus to the MLS Cup final before he took this job. Everyone's like, well, his brother's there. Anybody ever? It's all nepotism because of his brother. Jay Berhalter's not an idiot. He knows he's gonna get criticized for nepotism. Ernie Stewart has known Greg for years. Maybe they thought he really was the most qualified for what they needed to do. He's managed in Europe. He holds a European A license. He's obviously the pro license in the United States. He's a qualified manager. Do I expect him to be around afterwards? No. I think after Qatar, he'll probably. But like I said, I'm a believer. After each cycle, you almost need to bring in somebody new. I don't think he gets 2 cycles. I don't think they burn out. But as much as I like Berhalter, my concern in the final third is growing. To To be fair, has there ever been a U.S. manager that's in the final third where you've sat there and said, "Wow, they're really good in the final third"? That's never been how
No,
they play.
absolutely not. I mean,
That's
I was
not
having
their
a
style.
discussion with, yeah. Well, and we've yet to uncover a true, all out, like, top class striker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What Ricardo Pepi's 18, 19 years old?
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe he turns into something. Maybe he flames out the way, to some extent, Sargent kind of has. Sargent was who everybody thought was going to be the future a couple of years ago, and
Mm.
now it's like, well, maybe. I still think Sargent has plenty of opportunities, and he's still got
Sure.
plenty of time to progress. I think going to the Premier League was a mistake. I just don't think. I think, especially at a position like that, you have to be a ready-made star. Essentially, like you can't. The only chance you have to be an up and comer is if you're English.
Yeah,
But
but
otherwise, I think you're screwed if you're not scoring already. And he went to a team that isn't going to score a lot.
he's been better.
I
But
mean,
of late, his form is better
he
of late.
has been better, yes.
Now
But like I was going to say,
he'll
Josie
get
had
his
sort of the same thing when
chance
he
in.
was at Hull.
Well, I was going to say he'll get his chance in the championship next year. I mean,
That's certainly the
likely.
case. And I don't know if like Pookie will stick around. Pookie may go somewhere else because of that, which means he'll get even more chances then. So yeah, it's certainly it might work out for him next year. But yeah, I just don't think Premier League's not a place for an American striker to go. We've yet to have one who's good enough that they can go in and they'll immediately score goals. And I think you have to either be a star already or you have to be English to truly
Sure.
make it work there. And
everyone's sitting there
he's
and
neither.
saying, well, they should be bringing in Prefog. They should be bringing in DK. You know what? If they were that much better, they'd be there.
Isn't DK slightly hurt right now?
He might have been. I honestly didn't pay that close of attention, but he's if they were that much better, they'd be there.
Yeah.
Everyone and same thing with Brooks. If he was playing that well, and I've heard mixed on him. Some people say playing really well. Others are saying he's still not playing up to standard. He was one of the first ones to admit he wasn't good enough in the first window. So I mean, but I do see Brooks going eventually. I honestly see I see Sargent back in the mix at that point. I think Pepe's your number 9 until further notice.
I think that's probably true.
Man of the match tonight. Who do you got? Let's kind of bounce around. Let's finish up with this game. So I had 3 names, and I had 3 names.
Maybe Zimmerman.
That wasn't one I had written down.
Acosta did a lot, but ultimately the goals were someone else's, so I don't know that they'll get it. McKinney was big in the first half. He wasn't as big in the second, but at that point he didn't need to be.
No, I had that. I had Weah. So I thought he was really good tonight.
He's another one. Like he played really well, and if he put one away, maybe I could see it. But
but the one I had was Acosta. I still had Acosta. He's set up what? Actually, he set up all 3 goals off of set pieces. So defense was never really challenged, which you knew it wasn't. So I mean, he came in and did his job for tonight. So I still
think his almost goal was. I think he played that cross too long, but like it almost ended up being an amazing shot. He almost caught the keeper out and went right in under the bar.
But it's one of those. You think it was an accident. I'm not sure. With the way he was putting the way he was able to place his set pieces tonight, I think he saw how much he was cheating.
Maybe, yeah.
And took it and like, oh, you want to do that? All right, come get this. And he gave it a shot.
And it may have been one of those that like he was intentionally putting it essentially right there in hopes that maybe the keeper ends up like dumping it in the goal and somebody's running onto it. And it's one of those like I guess kind of a real shass, like it actually is a shot, but like you're not taking it seriously. You're hoping that it gets some sort of deflection or like a dumped save, and like
you got to remember the game was that was a backup keeper in there. I mean, if you're going to try it on someone that's not So
when you're
so
up what,
you're up
2-0 at the
2-0.
time,
Yeah,
and yeah, you're
I
playing
don't think it
the
was a bad
last place
idea.
team. Like, yeah.
So, but which brings me to a point I want to ask you about. We really haven't touched on St. Paul as a venue tonight, other than that we didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Honduras is claiming 2 players had to be substituted out at halftime because of cold issues, hypothermia. The goalkeeper specifically, they're referencing hypothermia. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. The hate for St. Paul to me is ridiculous. We did touch on earlier, their flights were all a couple hours at most. All of them were in the same weather.
Mm-hmm.
Did it get really cold tonight? Sure. But were they prepared for it because of the work they did in Columbus, in Hamilton? They stayed in that zone. They were ready. They were more prepared for it. Where, like I said, it was an 80-degree difference. The people complaining, that they ran from the market to make sure it was 100, pretty much an all U.S. crowd. I don't understand that either. You want the biggest advantage you have.
Yeah, I don't like that new thing, the new hate on that like, why are they just trying to keep the other teams' fans out? Like, well, because it's supposed to be home field advantage. Like, everybody does that. Like, at every sport. Of course you don't want more of your like opponent's fans there. It's not that doesn't I don't buy the
I don't
disgust
buy
with
it.
that.
And to sit there and talk like the Twin Cities not worthy of a qualifier. Their stadium is gorgeous. They showed up tonight. Tonight.
Even I kind of agree. Sticking it in like one of the coldest places in the country in the coldest month of the year is not a great idea. That said, whatever.
Did the fans show up?
Like a
Did
couple,
the fans show up?
They did. Yeah.
How many? You're a Packer fan like I am. How many games do you? Last I checked, that playoff game wasn't exactly warm. I mean, they've played in much colder than that. I get it. I've never heard anybody complain about the risk in that.
0-degree
Lambeau in
temperatures.
January.
Yeah.
Nobody ever complains about that. It's an event.
I didn't like, speaking of like the weather, it was just like a couple minutes in when the referee made Turner take off the like hand warmer that he was wearing, like one of those quarterback muffler things. Like, I don't care if it meets regulations or not. Under the circumstances, let them have it. Who cares?
I'm gonna spec. I didn't pay attention if they ever explained why they made him take it off. My wager is
maybe they hadn't cleared it. I don't know.
The color of it. Everything has to be the same color. That is my guess. Because it was white versus it's not part of the uniform. That's why. Because by FIFA rules, even the leggings are supposed to be the same color. Like if Honduras is wearing them, they all should have been white.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the shorts.
I didn't think of that.
That was my guess.
Because that's a legitimate point. But yeah, my feeling, I just felt like under the circumstances, let them be warm. Like,
well, did you
look
see
the other way for some things?
I can't remember. If you look on Twitter, you'll find it. They show him running back and forth during the game, like just jogging back and forth, like across the length of the penalty area, keeping himself warm. I mean, he didn't have anything. He didn't have much to do. The shots Honduras did take were just they were just launching shots from 30 yards. Like, I hope so. But all the credit in the world to the Minneapolis St. Paul fans that showed up tonight. It was cold. And they were there. And yes, you had the moron who took his shirt off. I mean, you're going to have, again, you're going to have it, but don't sit there and criticize the venue without sitting there and saying, these fans that are there deserve it. And that they built that stadium. They've had a Gold Cup game. It's the first qualifier they've had. Should they have had maybe the March one? Maybe. But based on the strategy of keeping them all relatively where they could acclimate to the climate, this fit that need. Could you have gone back to Cincinnati? Sure. Could you have gone to Philadelphia? Sure. but they chose St. Paul, which is an amazing venue, and they won 3-0. So for all the criticism of it, whether it worked because the U.S. was better or because of the venue, it's because they were better. At least tonight they were. But I'm guessing the venue didn't hurt matters any. Was it dangerous cold? Probably.
I mean, for some people it was.
Well, you live in Wisconsin. I spent 10 years in Minnesota. You do get used to it. Your body adapts to it. Is that saying the players are? No, but they had been in colder weather for a week. So I think they were as prepared as they could be for it. So, all right. So we got, three more.
So
three
with
more.
that, we go into the final month of qualification, or at least we will in a few weeks, with 3 games left to play. We've got the hardest 3 of the 5 teams fighting for those 4 spots. I know, like you like to joke about the 4th place team just has to play, just plays New Zealand, so it's not like it's a hard one. But I don't know, it is a one-off game, so who the hell knows what happens?
And you do have to travel halfway around the world for it.
So I don't want to be the 4th place team, that's for sure.
No, I'm not saying I want to be the 4th place team.
Yeah.
I'm just saying at this point to sit there and be more so the hysterics after Canada were ridiculous in that sense. Oh, they're not going to qualify. They put themselves in trouble. That game wasn't why.
People shouldn't have been saying that we wouldn't still qualify. And I did kind of take it as a lot of the people are fearing more. What does this mean for December? It is ridiculous that like we're talking about a World Cup in December, but whatever. The sky is falling stuff was unnecessary, but
it is what U.S. soccer. It is what U.S. soccer Twitter does best.
I mean, it's what Twitter does best. But yes, U.S. soccer. It's part of having a fan base that, it's a smaller, more I don't know, focused or more. Yeah, fan base. When you're using things,
but when you're using Screaming A to defend your position, you've kind of a whole lot of hysterics. Not a lot to it. 6 points in the window, which I said would be fine. I was more concerned about drawing one of the home games, and then now it looks like a bad window. 6 is fine.
Yeah.
Would I like 7 or 9? Of course. I honestly didn't feel confident going into Canada to begin with. You'd think it was, but like I said, we've talked about that game. Canada set themselves up for success. They put it on turf. They put it on a narrow field. They got the early goal they wanted, and it became hard.
The Canada game's about to end.
92nd minute. Mexico's at recess 0-0.
Assuming Canada wins this, they'll be on 25 points. We're on 21. If fingers crossed, Mexico and Panama both don't score, they'll be at 19 and 18 points each, respectively. So they'll still be.
So you have, but it says 20.
At least.
By the way, it says we have 23. I don't know if you put that in there on the screen.
Oh, huh. Yeah, I must have mistyped that. So. Oh well, it's because I got to type everything out on like a screen, like on my phone screen as I'm doing this.
Geez.
So I probably just typed wrong. Yes, I meant to say we're on 21 points.
Mm-hmm. Mexico would be what? If Mexico,
Mexico would be on 19 if they draw. They'd be on 21 like us if they win. But presumably, I mean, they had one fewer goal than us going into tonight. Or I should say their goal differential was 1 goal behind us going into the night. So they got to make up 4 goals right now to surpass us just on record. The big thing is, when we still have to play them once, we'd like to go into into that game ahead of them.
Sure. Is that what's the order on the next round? I didn't look.
We play Mexico. Hold on, I could pull up the dates too because I didn't.
I don't care. I honestly don't care.
We
I don't
play
care
Mexico
about dates.
away. We play
Panama at home and then at Costa
Rica at away.
I will agree. You do not want to have to go into San Jose and get a result.
Yeah,
absolutely not. You need that one put away. Canada's put up. It's 2-0, so it's over.
All right. Well,
they did this like in the 94th minute, the last minute of stoppage time. They put a second one away, so that'll take care of that one. Realistically, if they get 3 at home against Panama, that should take care of it, right? That should put them in the top 3.
I would say yes. I would say that would lock us into the top 3 because Panama has to surpass us in points and possibly in goal differential. And if we've beaten them and we're already ahead of them on goal differential anyway, the chances of them coming back, Costa Rica's far enough back that if they won tonight, technically speaking, they'd be on 16 points. Wait, they did win tonight. I'm sorry, they're on 16 points now.
Yes.
So they're still 5 points back from us. So even if, say, they beat us in that game, that only makes up 3. They still got to come up with something somewhere else. And they have Canada at home, then El Salvador away, and then us at home again. So they got to beat Canada too, which I don't know. Canada doesn't seem to be nearly as good when they play everyone else. But
although that said, they're winning 2-0 tonight. Of course, then again, El Salvador.
El Salvador was
threatening not to play a few hours ago.
Well, yeah, that too. But they're effectively out of it as well. I mean, I would assume after tonight, let's see.
In a completely CONCACAF move, El Salvador has the
right. I guess still make it into the 4th spot. So they're not mathematically eliminated.
Is that El Salvador or no?
El Salvador.
Well, the game's over, and the riot police are on the field right now.
Nice.
On the outlines, yeah. It's Jamaica lost 1-0 to Costa Rica. So
yeah. Costa Rica's sitting on 16 points with a +1 positive goal differential. Panama, we'll see what happens. They've got 17 points right now with a +2. Mexico at 18 with a +5. So if nobody scores tonight, we're in pretty good. We're still in pretty good shape. I mean, I guess I would take a Panama win, but that also then further mixes things up for March. So I'm pulling probably for a 0-0 draw. Keep them both at nothing. And
now, as we wrap up, I want to look ahead a little bit. Under the presumption we qualify, and I still think they're going to qualify. We look at in this cycle we're looking at Matt Turner starting because Zach Steffen's hurt. Let's move forward a little bit because we did talk a little bit about Brooks Brooks should be going to Qatar. We talked a bit about Sargent should be going to Qatar, and Giassi Zardes should just make sure he stays in Columbus.
Buying his own ticket to Qatar.
If he wants to go as a fan, I'm not against it. I want to throw this. I wrote this down in my notes, and it's the hot take that probably won't happen, but yet I thought it was interesting enough to throw out to you. I think when they hit Qatar, Sean Johnson's going to be the starter. He will be coming off the season. If he has another season like this, if he has a good season, he's going to be in form, not struggling to get playing time like Turner will with Arsenal and like Steffen will with Manchester City. If he's in form, that's one I would. Would you be surprised if that happened?
I can see the argument. My issue with it is we haven't seen enough of him to this point to make me think that Berhalter's truly on board with him.
The 3. He is one of the 3. I mean, he will be one of the 3 that are going at this point. That's a given. That's why I kind of threw that one out there. Like, if he has another good season with NYCFC, the horse. I think he's mentioning just that Zardis's national team career needs to go over the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, unfortunately, Jamaica did not win today. Costa Rica did. That would have been a nice ending if Jamaica had pulled that one out.
I watched that game. That game was a whole lot of nothing going on.
Yeah.
You know. So
I don't think either team is particularly good this year.
No.
Jamaica
Again,
struggled, I think, between injuries and like kind of missing some of their top players, and they just don't have the depth.
They had issues with players being able to come over because of travel restrictions.
I think that was also part of it. Yes. Yeah.
Again, Costa Rica's dependent on Calvo. I like our chances. Anytime you are dependent on Francisco Calvo as one of your center backs, I like our chances.
That said, look, when have we ever made gotten a point going to
as
Costa Rica?
Alex pointed out, we've never gotten a point in Costa Rica. But then again, how many years had it been since we had gotten a win anywhere, and we took care of that on the road, and we took care of that this cycle.
Well, no, we'd gotten wins on the road, but like
it had been a while.
There was also, hey, we'd never won in Mexico until we did. We'd never scored in why can I not think of the name of the stadium until just a few years ago? So
Azteca.
Yes, thank you. Azteca.
Or Michael Bradley hits one from half field.
Yeah, Charlie Davies, just before he nearly died. Yeah. So look, at some point, there was never a 16 seed beat a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
What did they say? How many?
At some point, it's got to happen. But
right, and so, the question about Canada beating us in a World Cup qualifier. Now, granted, World Cup qualifiers are every 4 years. How many times did Canada not make the hex? I think most of them they didn't. So that's all part of it. But that said, Canada, the last time we played in Canada, we played in Toronto, we got demolished. So to lose in Canada again, not shocking. And I get it that Davies is out, but that's still a good team.
Yeah.
And the strikers they have fit their style beautifully. They can put them in a spot, they'll get a step, they're going to crack a shot, and they're going to be dangerous. That's so Canada can sit back and defend. I mean, let's face it, get through qualifying, presuming we get through qualification, it's all going to come down to the draw anyway. This team has the talent to go deep. All depends on the draw. If you have a good draw, it can happen. If it doesn't, like I said, I always like to ask, how are you feel? You're feeling pretty good about qualification still.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we're still on board to do it. First seed is first spot in CONCACAF is clearly gone.
Doesn't matter. Again, does it matter?
I know, but there's some cachet to it. I would like to think we could still get second place, but we've got to do something because
are they going to do
go to Mexico and pull one out, or
are they going to do T-shirts that say the Ocho Champs? I mean, we've won the hex. I don't remember.
We have. It didn't mean much. Yeah.
It meant nothing. It does. So, I mean, it really doesn't even get you necessarily in a better draw.
Yeah.
Realistically, even if we finish second or third in the hex, we're still going to be in a higher draw than Canada, most likely, because we won the Gold Cup, because we won the CONCACAF League or whatever they called it.
Yeah, Confed Cup.
So, I mean, we have the talent, but Berhalter is like frozen molasses. I got to take a little exception to that. How many goals have they scored in the second half? Isn't that based on adjustments on the first half?
Possibly, yeah.
They had 2 goals in the first half in the Ocho coming into tonight. You got 2 in the first. All their goals were in the second half. So he does make adjustments. He does them at halftime. They seem to be the Canada game aside, most of them seem to have worked. Again, they won the Gold Cup with like a B- squad. They won they won the Confed Cup with Mexico playing an A team.
Yeah.
Ryan Case had tired legs. We kind of talked a little bit about that earlier. I think, like I said, I'm a believer that Weah not playing in that game in Canada, Zimmerman as well. De La Torre was fresh legs tonight. Jordan Morris would have been really fresh legs. Acosta fresh legs. That all I think mattered tonight. It's 3 games in 7 days. That's a lot.
This occurred to me, and it's totally off topic now, but what's going to happen in Qatar, assuming that COVID is still an issue in 11 months? We saw Weah get denied for his status in Canada. Is Qatar just going to be like anybody can go?
Well, it's Qatar. I mean, I'm sure you can bribe your way into Qatar.
I was kind of going to make that joke too, but like in all honesty, is it going to be that we just don't care? Are they just going to let anything go and whatever?
There are no
rules for the players, and
now for starting, the fact that I believe Novak Djokovic's flight originated in Qatar when he went to Australia, but when he was kicked out. So I really have no concerns there. That said, part of me feels like you almost need to have almost a full 11 taxi squad, prepped and ready, and staying. And I don't know if you bring them to Qatar or whatever. And what is FIFA's ruling going to be? Are they going to let people, after you name your 23, can you still switch players out in the round if they test positive for COVID? I mean,
I would assume if they're going to do something serious about it, that's got to be something like that. But who the hell knows?
It's FIFA. It depends on how much you want to bribe them that day.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I think we've talked this one through. So
we have. Yeah.
TJ, any last thoughts?
Let's go USA. Way to go, St. Paul, for showing up tonight, even though you froze your tuchuses off. Hat guy, feel better soon. It's not the same without you because it's actually better. Chris, that's all I got tonight.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. I'm pulling for Mexico and Panama to pull out nothing tonight. Just have a flat 0-0 draw. And on that, you're done.